So there's a lot of things that lead to success with small businesses, but what I've noticed is that there's 4 main pillars or supports that lead to the success of a small business. The first one is obvious, and honestly, if you're not doing it, then no business of any size is going to grow, and that first thing is marketing. So marketing can come in the form of content that provides value. It'll be advertising, it might be directly messaging people. I know that's a really big thing for a lot of small businesses. Now that social media is around, you can message thousands of people in a very short amount of time, which was not possible before. There's also cold calling and cold emailing and all of that stuff, which is useful, but it's not always necessary in order to get somebody to buy your product or service. The second thing that you absolutely need is a product or service that's actually worth buying. If the thing you're selling doesn't cost energy or time or money to produce, then it's not really worth anything. I mean, that's what makes things worth buying, is that somebody took the effort and the time and the money and the energy to produce whatever that thing was, whether it's a service or a product. If your product or service isn't good, then any amount of marketing isn't going to help you because you're advertising something that sucks and isn't worth buying. You wouldn't advertise a pen for $10,000 if it's just a normal Bic ballpoint pen. It's just not worth $10,000, especially when it costs so little to produce one. The third thing you're going to need in order to grow your business is an online presence. For some reason, some people think that you shouldn't have an online presence or don't need one unless your business or company is a certain size. And I guess you could argue that, but if you think about it, I mean, you want people to know you exist and you want to be able to contact a lot of people. You want to be able to make content or provide value to people in some way, and an online presence on social media is probably the best way to do that. Obviously, you'd also have a website and ways to contact you directly, but having social media and having things that help you reach a lot of people in a very short amount of time is going to be, it's basically your entire advertising and marketing department if you use it correctly. The main thing I've noticed that stops businesses from using social media to grow is they're not active enough. People follow accounts, people follow other people on social media of any kind when they're active and they're actually getting something in return for following somebody. On the surface, it sounds like you're exchanging a tap of a button for hours and hours and hours of content. Realistically, what those hours and hours of content are chances for you to advertise and market to consumers. I know pressure washing is a really big one. People will make videos of that and then they'll show their viewers what their services do and why it's beneficial. It also gives you a chance to demonstrate some kind of expertise and show that you actually know at least a little bit of what you're talking about. In my case, I'm making videos about content and growing your business online. It's been something I was interested in since I was probably 11 or 12. Dropshipping was a really big thing, and it got my mind thinking about like, oh, hey, I can make money online and I can grow a business online. It's easier now than it ever has been to actually start and run a business. That's why my mind goes to digital marketing, digital everything, and also because I grew up in front of a screen. It makes sense for me to use the things that I've been consuming my entire life and turn them into something useful that can help make me money or at least give me something to do in my free time. So a good product, good marketing, providing content and having an online presence. And then the most important thing is a willingness to learn and grow. And this one sounds really cliche and stupid, but really a lot of people aren't willing to learn or adapt to changes or accept that something has changed. And honestly, that's usually what leads to the downfall of their business. You saw it all the time when social media really became like really popular, is a lot of businesses weren't willing to start accounts or start making content on any kind of social media, and then they didn't have a following. And I guess you could say they were just overwhelmed by the sheer number of advertising against them. They didn't have their own ads being seen. They didn't have the opportunity to market to an audience because they didn't have an audience to market to. Nowadays, that applies to all kinds of things. So VR or NFTs are really big ones, and they're things that people don't really understand, and because they don't understand and aren't willing to adapt or accept that they're present and they're actually useful in terms of business, they're not willing to give it a shot and see what it can do. I could totally be wrong about this, but I have a feeling that later on down the line, people are going to regret not getting into NFTs or virtual reality of any kind. It's one of those things where it's new enough that people don't want to actually spend time or energy or money or effort on developing something in either of those fields because it doesn't make sense right now, which fair enough. So to summarize, you need to be able to market, you need a good product, you need an online presence, and you need to be willing to learn and grow. Failing to pay attention to any one of these 4 pillars, I guess you could say, that leads to growth in business is going to eventually lead to the downfall. There's also a million other things that you need to pay attention to, you need to learn, but that comes with being willing to learn. So as long as you are willing to learn and you have those 3 other things, you always have a foot in the door, you always have your toes in the water, you're you're never going to be limiting yourself in any way because you're not shutting all the doors. You're just doing what's familiar and at least stalling while you learn what's new. If you do focus on these 4 things and you put a lot of time and energy into them, then it's going to have a positive, I guess you could say, to have a positive return on investment in terms of time and energy, and I guess you could say money too, in the form of like paid advertising and whatnot. Focusing on these 4 things will help you out in the long run. It's just, there's no question about it. Doing these 4 things that I talked about, it's beneficial. So don't be stupid. All of these things can be entirely free to do, and you really won't be losing that much if you focus on any one of them. So go ahead and do it.